While working on our rental house over on the Oregon coast, we see that we have a problem. The problem being there are two giant trees that have grown too close to the house. One of them's a cedar, the other is a spruce. Since the spruce has multiple trunks going up, we decided it was too risky to take, but we're going to take a chance on taking out the big cedar, which has to go as well as the spruce. The spruce grew those giant roots out, and they grew under the patio and have heaved the patio up and broke it, and so it's got to be taken out too. But it looks too dangerous for us, but we're going to take a chance on this western red cedar, which was growing real close to the spruce and has to go too. It's up on a little bank where if one goes, they both have to go. We're going to cut a little tree or two out of the way and make ready to start the project. If anyone has a problem tree like this, I would suggest you contact a professional to do it. We are taking a chance, a risk at this, but my son Dwayne used to sell wood and cut a lot of trees down, so he's going to attempt this job. We clear all the brush and the dead branches out of the way and get ready to start in the process of falling this big western red cedar. We have to be really super careful of this because it could fall on the house and do a whole lot of damage, and so we don't want to have to do a major repair job since we're getting near finished with the house. Dwayne will try to get this saw started, and it's being a little stubborn right now, but if we just keep at it, pretty soon it'll purr like a kid.
Is that gonna go that way?
Hi, my name is Dwayne Ray, and I'll be doing the cutting of the trees today. And I've been watching Billy Ray, Buckin' Billy Ray on YouTube. Excellent guy to get information on cutting trees down. He's taught me a lot, and I use a lot of his techniques when I cut this big cedar tree down. And if you have any questions about how to cut down a tree, just watch Buckin' Billy Ray on YouTube.
What did it hit?
Just that little alder's out of the way. Now we can make firewood or something out of it. Around the area, we see some little mushrooms coming up, and I'm not sure what these are. We're not going to eat them just in case they're poison. We've unspooled a bunch of rope into a bucket, and then we'll tie a weight on this and swing it way up in to the top of the cedar tree, where we can pull a larger strap up and hook it on and use a come along or something to pull the tree, make certain the tree doesn't go on the house. If this goes on the house, it could create thousands of dollars worth of damage and take us a long time. Dwayne throws the little weight up in the tree with the rope on it, and it looks like it went up in the tree a fairly good distance, so that should be okay to pull the tree over the way we want it to go, or just make certain it goes where we want it to go. Now our next trick is to shake this line till we get the weight down where we can grab hold of it, and then we'll tie the strap on. We've got the strap tied on now, and we're beginning to pull it up the tree. And this strap is our lifeline. It'll save this tree from, if something happens, at least won't go over on the house, hopefully. It's quite difficult to pull this strap up through this tangle of branches on the cedar tree, but at least it's going, and sometimes if you just shake it real good, it'll clear the obstacles and go on up. So it's going up slow but sure. Now that we have the strap up there, we have to get a hold of the end of it and pull it around the cedar tree. The cedar's the one on the left and the big spruce is the one on the right. I'd sure like to do that big spruce too, but it's leaning sort of toward the house and has many tops, so it may be that a climber has to go up in yet to properly cut it down. After a bunch of shaking and maneuvering, we finally get
Is that a tall
strap
tree or
up,
what is it?
and we'll pull it down with this smaller rope.
Wow, look how tall that tree
and
is.
get a hold of the end of
Dang.
it and take it up and hook it up to a come along, so we can put some tension on it, just so that tree doesn't take a notion to go in a direction where we don't want it, with the house right next to it there. And the problem with these cedar trees is they're quite frequently hollow, and a hollow tree can be real difficult to fall. They fall all right, but they don't necessarily go where you want them. So we suspicion this tree is part hollow, and so we're going to cut it up with a pretty big base on it, up pretty high. So if it is hollow, it's usually always hollow right down next to the roots and up a ways. So the farther up you get, the better off you are. So rather than take a chance on it, we're going to do that. And the reason we think it's hollow is because there's a bunch of sawdust around it where insects have been cutting into it. So we're going to take out the first cut, which will be the notch in this big old cedar tree. Dwayne moves the saw over into the work, and the saw hums as he cuts on the notch. Now to take the wedge out, the notch wedge, so the tree will have something to fall on, and then he'll cut sort of hinges on the tree so it'll fall in the right direction, we hope. We realize the risk probably isn't worth the chance we're taking, but we wanted a challenge for today, so we're going to take a chance on it. And now is not the time you can back out. We've got it started, so we have to continue with it now. You never cut a cut in a tree without taking it down, because the first little breeze could come and you'd have a disaster on your hands. So far, we've found no hollow place. Maybe we were wrong thinking there was a hollow place in it. And the cedar smells super good. That nice fragrance of cedar. The strap you see in the foreground, we put around the butt of it, tied it solid to a tree, in case this tree, when we fall it, if it decides to slide downhill, so it'll be solid there and won't slide down the hill and damage the house. Getting a nice notch on with the angle you want the tree to fall is super important. It gives the tree a space to fall in, and so we're taking a lot of time and being real particular to get a good notch pointed in the direction we want it to fall. If the tree doesn't fall in the direction we want, we're in big trouble. It could damage other trees or hang up in a tree. So we've got to be super meticulous on getting this notch. And then when we start cutting the tree, we want to make sure we get exactly the right angle on the cut. So we'll take extra time with this, and we've already taken time to tie this tree up to a come along and also we tied the butt so it won't slide downhill. At this point, you're getting super anxious, and it would be real easy to say that's good enough and let it go, but that just plain might not work. It's worth the extra time it would take, and when you get to hurrying with something like this, that's where mistakes are made. So this looks like a super good solid tree. We're certainly glad to see that. And we have a little sawmill. We're going to save the log from it and saw it up to make things. And this western red cedar would be really nice to make things with. Marge has been wanting a cedar chest ever since we're married, which has been almost 61 years ago. And maybe it's about time to make her a cedar chest out of a cedar that we grew on our own property. Let me know in the comments sections if you think it's time for me to make that cedar chest for her. Maybe before I make any promises to her though, I better see how she does on filming this tree going down. I read an article one time. It was a safety article about logging, and it says logging is more dangerous than war. More people get killed, a bigger percentage of them get killed at this than they do in war. So it's nothing to take lightly, and it is very dangerous because these trees are big and heavy and they can be unpredictable. But it looks like everything's going well right now. And let's hope the wind doesn't suddenly come up, and it's not supposed to according to the weather forecast. So it looks like it's all go for cutting this big old giant cedar down. And as it's cutting down, I'm thinking of things I'd like to build with the wood. We've taken oodles of time to very carefully cut a notch out and remove all the junk from down below, because when that tree gets ready to fall, you probably better be getting the heck out of there in a hurry, and you don't want something to trip over. Dwayne goes around the tree to look and make certain that he's hitting the right spot. He even marks it. And now it's time to start the big saw, and we're going to see what happens here. It's pretty tense right now. Everyone's being pretty quiet. But if all goes well, that tree should be down on the ground in just a matter of a few minutes. He's going to take the little saw and just mark a little spot around the tree where he needs to make the cut. That cut's got to be made just about right, or else the tree's not going to go down the way you want it. And it's got to be just exactly on the right angle, or else that tree definitely won't fall where we want it. The angle seems to look okay, and so it's game time. We're going to get that big saw started and make some sawdust too, as he saws on this big tree very carefully. First on one side, and then on the other side, as the big saw finally starts to make a bunch of sawdust as it goes into that western red cedar. And the smell of cedar is in the air. It just smells so good. The western red cedar isn't as fragrant as some of the cedars, but it still smells darn good. The odor doesn't last as long, and it's not quite as strong as some of the other cedars, but it's a really nice. It's pretty tense now as the saw starts into this big cedar tree, and in just a little bit he'll stop and drive a few wedges in just to make sure it goes the right direction. He has a tool belt on with these wedges on it. They're very important. You drive them in and it'll keep the tree from binding your saw, or maybe keep the tree from falling the wrong direction. If it were to go the wrong direction, it would probably snap or strap, just like if it were a rubber band. Everyone is quiet now as the tree's already made a pop or two, and it's thinking about going, but it looks like it might go the right direction. So he's got to get back there and saw some more and drive some more wedges in before this thing can go down. Around an area where these trees grow so super fast and so super big, it's not uncommon for people to saw one down and it go the wrong direction. So that's why it's important to have a professional do it. I've heard of it said that these trees grow faster here, 7 times faster than they do on the East Coast. Dwayne's digging out a little spot to stand. You need good footing there because this is very important that this thing go right from here on out, because the house is the hostage at this point. The saw is acting up a little bit and keeps dying, but it's going to make it. We all have a feeling that this saw will make it. There, he got it started again, and this may be about the final cut. He's got to cut it slightly higher on that side so it'll fall a little bit over this direction. But he's got that all figured out, and it's going to happen. That saw will keep running. He thinks the problem might be the carburetor, so he's got a new carburetor. All it needs to have done is just to put it on. But it finally gets going, and once you get it revved up, it seems to run darn good. And the chain is sharp, and the sawdust is starting to fly again. I don't know what the squirrels are going to think of us taking this tree down. We noticed there were a lot of eaten pine cones around the base of it. They get the cones off the spruce and the fir here, and then they go up and set in the limbs on this and shuck them out and eat them. The saw's going again now, and the tree is getting ready to go. Plenty of wedges are very important at this stage. We'll hammer the wedges in, and that should be enough to force the tree in the right direction, and maybe it's ready to go down by now. Dwayne will get the hatchet and hammer those wedges in good and solid.
soon, right? How long will it be? Getting close?
It's getting close.
Most anyone can cut a
Oh,
tree
is it?
down, but not everyone can get it to fall where they want and do
My
it
phone's down to
safely.
10%.
So we've got to really
You can
be
get that other
careful of
camera.
this.
It's in the
One
case.
little mistake at this point could put that
I
house
wanted to
in
get it on my
jeopardy.
phone.
And also, when you're cutting a tree like this
I
down,
hear
when
some
they start to
popping.
wiggle, which this one is getting loose now and starting to wiggle, then big limbs can fall out of it or the top can come down. And that seems to
soon will
get
it be?
more loggers than a lot of
Any second.
Now,
You want me to
it's,
get my? I'm
the
shut my
song
phone off because
is
it was
pretty
getting
well
down
done
to
for right
10%.
now. And so it's time to hammer those wedges in
So if I knew
and
how
see if
soon it
that
was, I could
thing's
put my
going to
camera
come down.
phone back on. How soon do you think it'll be?
Any second it could go.
Oh, I'll get my phone back out. I heard it click. Okay, just a second.
Now the tree is starting to pop and the wedges are being driven in, and so it should be down any second now.
See, it's list quite a bit.
It's starting to move very slowly, which is what we want. We can hear
It's
some of the
cracking.
branches up above break as it slowly goes down.
There it goes.
Hurry. It's gonna go. Get back.
That's the way it's done.
Wow.
After that, I guess we deserve a decent meal, and we've rigged up in the house here a couple sawhorses with a piece of plywood on it to make a makeshift table, and the rest of the kitchen's pretty much all together. The range and dishwasher and sink and everything are already in and working. So Marge is going to make us a salad, and we're going to enjoy some good elk burgers and whatever else, and some potatoes and whatever else she decides to cook. And she's making a loaf of homemade bread. How about that?
Okay, we got our, this is our lunch actually. Okay, you ready to eat?
Yep.
And that's some elk burger. Okay, I'll get over here and sit down in my chair. Here's you some. And I got some homemade muffins. You want one?
Okay.
There you go. And there's some baked potatoes there and some salad. Now you want a piece of it?
Yeah, cut a little piece off. of it.
Okay, that's good.
See if it's fit to eat.
Yes. Oh, Ray's nice. Look at that.
Yeah. Well, let's try a little piece and see how
Okay,
it
get the
is.
butter. There we go.
The herd of elk look on as this little spike bull has an itch that won't stop itching, and the cows are laying there chewing their cuds, just watching as the old wiser big bull lays down and talks about how good the grass is tasting today.